Sometimes I suspect I'm not who I think I am. Like maybe I died a long time ago. Somebody took my brain and stuck it in this body. Maybe there wasn't a real me in the first place and I'm completely synthetic. What if a cyber brain could possibly generate its own ghost? Create a soul all by itself? And if it did, just what would be the importance of being human then? Welcome to the dystopian cyberpunk world of Ghost in the Shell, based on the manga series of the same name written and illustrated by Masamune Shirow. In the near future, society has computerized. Humans are enhanced with cybernetic bodies that increase their physical power, and we've augmented our minds to connect with the net. However, Major Motoko Kusanagi is entirely cyborg. The only part left from her original body is a piece of her brain that houses consciousness. Her ghost in a shell, giving her identity, subjectivity, and humanity. Or so she thinks.
Chief, I'm assembling a barrier maze. I have to see for myself what's in there. If there is a real ghost, I'm gonna find it.
Hi, I'm Mallorie Rodak. I'm a voice actress in anime and video games, and I'm so honored to have been asked to do a guest essay on Ghost in the Shell as part of this anime retrospective for Cinema Force. Today we'll be talking about Oshii Mamoru's 1995 film The Ghost in the Shell and Ghost in the Shell 2 Innocence, as well as Rupert Sanders' live-action Hollywood adaptation in 2017. It's a complex world with sophisticated themes that are super thought-provoking, and I'm here to help you break it all down. So let's dive into this proverbial sea of information because
the net is vast and infinite.
So I rewatched the 1995 Ghost in the Shell film with a special crew, my virtual cinema friends, on a Tuesday night, otherwise known to us as Buffy night. Yes, that Buffy. So we were pumped to watch Ghost together. Well, okay, about as pumped as you can get on a Tuesday night on Zoom. Immediately, though, everyone was chiming in on our Discord channel about all of the other modern media that it reminded them of. Of course, the first redolent element you encounter in the film is what we know today as the Matrix Digital Rain, a non-diegetic visualization of the net featured in the epic opening sequence. My friend Eric said the Matrix creators said, "I'll be taking that," and no, they actually did. Whoa. Creators Lana Wachowski and Lily Wachowski literally showed the opening credits to their producer Joel Silver, saying, "We want to do that for real." Fun fact, the origin of this code is the names of the Ghost in the Shell staff, written in a computer language. My friend Nick mentioned Westworld, HBO's hit series that premiered in 2016, and in particular the similarities between how the synthetic bodies are created in the opening sequences, especially the use of white to emphasize sterility. I couldn't get Cyberpunk 2077 out of my head, the video game that I played almost all the way through back during the pandemic. Well, except for all those bugs and that damn vending machine named Brendan. With all the cybernetic modifications of the brain, things are bound to go wrong, from the cyberpsychosis of Cyberpunk 2077 to the ghost hacking in Ghost in the Shell that steals and replaces people's memories. This film is one of the most influential sci-fi titles around, but even Ghost in the Shell borrows ideas and concepts from other classic sci-fi, all the way back to the first sci-fi from Mary Shelley, as Frankenstein's monster is replaced by a synthetic technological marvel, the cyborg. While we were watching, my friend Emily immediately brought up the 1982 Ridley Scott film Blade Runner, and we'd be remiss not to mention its influence, not only on Ghost in the Shell, but the entire cyberpunk genre. When interviewed about this, Oshii Mamoru said, "Any film set in a near-future world is influenced to some degree by Blade Runner, but I did my best to make Ghost different from it." Okay, so what is Ghost in the Shell about? The main plot follows cyborg intelligence officer Kusanagi and her partner Bato as they hunt for a mysterious cyber-terrorist hacker known as the Puppet Master. Through her investigation, Kusanagi learns that it's possible to manufacture a cyber brain in robots that imitates a human ghost. She begins to question her own humanity and purpose, and whether her ghost is even real. In this world where the line between technology and human is so blurred, ghosts are sort of this mystical vessel that forms the foundation of self-awareness. If that essence can take up residence as easily in a cybernetic body as a human one, Kusanagi wonders, then what is the value of being human? My favorite scene is when Kusanagi is diving in the ocean. It calls back to the opening sequence as she sort of floats gracefully through the water. In fact, the ocean seems to represent freedom from her present form and situation, a metaphor for the vast and deep sea of data that is the net. My all-time favorite shot is Kusanagi floating to the surface, looking up at the sky through her scuba gear, and water droplets clouding her view. Reflective surfaces of water are a key visual imagery throughout the film. "Now I see through a glass darkly" is a biblical quote that exemplifies this visual theme.
I feel fear, cold, alone. Sometimes down there I even feel hope.
Oh, huh? In those deep, dark waters?
When I float weightless back to the surface, I imagine I'm becoming someone else.
This scene provides a real glimpse into Kusanagi's emotional being, her ghost, and the constraints that she feels. In a key scene in the film, it's revealed that the Puppet Master is an intelligence that was never actually human, but instead a rogue program that evolved into a sentient being.
My codename is Project 2501. I am a living, thinking entity who was created in the sea of information.
It was so striking how in this scene he almost resembled a Roman sculpture of a torso, this sort of classic representation of man. Later, when all that's left of Kusanagi is her broken cybernetic body, the Puppet Master asks her to help complete his transformation into a life form by merging, claiming that no life form is complete without the ability to reproduce and die.
I want us to merge.
Merge?
A unification, a complete commingling and fusion of our separate beings to create a new and unique entity.
So she merges with the Puppet Master and vanishes in the vast realm of cyberspace, a sort of metaphorical representation of nirvana. Perhaps one of my favorite elements of Ghost in the Shell is the fantastic world building and atmosphere. The cityscapes feel three-dimensional, packed with richly captured details spanning multiple layers of the city, from the canals to the skylines. It's inspired by the metropolises of Tokyo and Hong Kong, and the director spent his off hours capturing the former. The film's realism is the product of extensive research. Even the way the bullets spark when striking metal, but not stone, was the product of firearms research conducted in Guam. Another member of our Buffy Night watch crew, James, mentioned a similar dystopian, noirish future tale, Katsuhiro Otomo's 1988 film Akira, in particular the ethereal music styling, both featuring haunting choral sounds, acoustic bells and instruments, and heavy tribal drums. The opening track, Making of a Cyborg, is a hybrid of ancient Japanese minyo chants and Bulgarian music. For the second film, Innocence, the minyo singers chorus consisted of 75 performers who weathered through a 14-hour-long recording session for the film. As a voice actor, I cannot imagine this.
前作を、あれはあれで不安定ながらも完成してしまった作品だったので、あれをどうやってリファインしていくかですね。
While Oshii's first film depicts Kusanagi in a transhuman state, a state where humans have merged with technology, in the second film, Ghost in the Shell 2, Innocence, we see Kusanagi in a post-human state, where she's transcended human existence completely by evolving into a new virtual life form in the fluid realm of pure information. We really don't see Kusanagi until the very end of the second film, but in her post-human state, she's always watching over her partner Bato from deep in the net. Instead, we follow Bato as he discovers a corporation called Locus Solis that is illegally dubbing ghosts. Dubbing ghosts is different from the artificial imitation of a ghost we saw in the first film, because these are copies of actual ghosts. Ghosts kidnapped from young girls to go into gynoids, female robots made for sexual companionship. And as these copies are stolen from the young girls, the life is sucked out of them. It's truly horrifying to think about. The gynoids look different from the cyborgs we saw in the first film. They are based on the art of Hans Bellmer, a doll maker famous for his disturbing, erotic, ball-jointed female dolls. Something else is different about this film too, the decision to use 3D computer animation. It was giving Clone Wars vibes to me, which has more to do with that era of 3D animation and sci-fi than much else. According to Oshii, Hollywood's gold standard of animation in 2004 was none other than America's favorite film, Shrek. You can't make that up. He insisted on a foundation of 2D, saying only doing 3D does not interest me. Oshii said, "I think that Hollywood is relying more and more on 3D imaging like that of Shrek. The strength behind Japanese animation is based in the designer's pencil. Even if he mixes 2D, 3D, and computer graphics, the foundation is still 2D. Only doing 3D does not interest me."
That was just an ordinary doll. You need to learn when to quit.
Innocence is even more complex than the first film, densely packed with philosophical dialogue about the metaphysical questions of subjectivity and reality. And when I say densely packed, I mean quotes from Buddha, Confucius, Descartes, the Old Testament, Plato, Milton, just to name a few. Oshii said, "I had a dozen ideas linked to my views on life, my philosophy, that I wanted to include in this film." And he was not kidding. They're all in there. For me, dissecting Innocence was almost more fun than the experience of watching it. And my key takeaway was that the characters seem to rediscover and redefine their humanity through their feelings. The tagline for the film was, "When machines learn to feel, who decides what is human?" Also, shout out to the birds. In a lot of cyberpunk worlds, they seem to have perished, but they're absolutely thriving in Innocence, so congrats to them.
If those dolls had voices, I bet each and every one of them would have screamed, "I don't want to be a human."
The voice acting in both films is pretty good by 1995 anime dubbing standards. I'm here for the Sigourney Weaver vibes in Mimi Woods' performance and the deep voice that she gives Motoko. Throughout watching the films, I couldn't help drawing parallels to the digital replicas we're seeing in the voiceover industry today, often created without our consent. And the digital ghost replicas in Ghost in the Shell 2 Innocence. It makes me think, are we at the forefront of digital cloning? Is this the beginning? First, our voices, our likenesses, next, our ghosts, our souls. As the films question the very basic ontological concepts of identity, it made me think how much our voices are very much an expression of our identity.
To be precise, this is only a part of me that I uploaded via satellite. The cyberbrain in this gynoid simply doesn't have the capacity.
As we begin to see more AI-generated synthetic voices in entertainment, it feels as if the ghost has been ripped from the shell, inexorably making the industry more mechanical, more soulless, in lack of our ghosts. Okay, y'all, we made it to the end, and I haven't even mentioned Rupert Sanders' 2017 live-action version of Ghost in the Shell, so let's get into it. So although the film was highly anticipated, even before it premiered, it received critical reviews, mostly for its casting of Scarlett Johansson in the lead role. It's revealed in the film that Scarlett Johansson's character, her ghost, comes from a young Japanese woman named Motoko Kusanagi. So she has an Asian identity in a Caucasian cyborg body.
How many fingers am I holding up?
And notably unlike the 1995 film in which Kusanagi has no past and is uninterested in her origins, it really calls into question the ontology of race and whether race is property of the mind or the body, the ghost or the shell, none of which was unpacked in the film. The live-action film pays homage to the 1995 original, but also reveals a new chapter in the story. But while the Japanese franchise offers real philosophical, existential exploration, we lose a lot of that depth and intricacy in the American version. Along with the casting of Scarlett Johansson, Sanders seems to emphasize spectacle and action to appeal to a broader, more mainstream Western market. What a vast ocean of information we've been swimming through together, challenging the boundaries of what's human through the dissection of this incredible media franchise. Ghost in the Shell is a touchstone of science fiction and anime, and also one of the most analyzed anime films of our time. The philosophy, the world building, the animation, the music, the meditative set pieces, and the action, they all come together to make this one of my top films of all time.
Ghost hack humans are so pathetic, it's a shame.
I'd like to thank Eric and the whole Cinema Force team for having me guest host, and I'd also like to thank the whole Buffy Night watch crew. And for the rest of you, I hope this inspires you to go watch some cinema with your loved ones. And with that, I'll leave you with this thought from the 1995 film.
This babble offers no proof at all that you're a living, thinking life form.
And can you offer me proof of your existence?
Offering you fallible proof of my existence, voice actress Mallorie Rodak, signing off.